What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, our YouTube channel, Inside the Game Official. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. It always helps us out. You can also check out our fast channel over at Rad TV, our TV streaming platforms around the globe. That's right, you can find us everywhere on Amazon Prime, Roku TV, Jinx Esports TV, ESTV, and the list is gonna keep growing, trust me on that one. From there, we're also on the audio side. If you can't catch the visual side, hit us up on Fired Up Network, all 212 platforms around the world. Whew. Scott, what's on today's show?
We are an incredible amount of platforms. On today's show, we have a travel update coming for Starfield soon, and that is exciting to everybody. E3 is officially over, and that is likewise saddening to everybody. And the day before was never an MMO. Never much of anything, if you ask me.
It turns out to be a giant mess is all that turned out to be. It's unfortunate to see how that really kind of panned out. Opportunities, man, were there.
What could have been?
Well, it is that what if scenario, right? Like, what if this was done properly? What would we be playing? But we get into the whole discussion right there on that one. But yeah, let's kick it off. Dude, it's Starfield. Are we going to go back in? Let's find out.
I think I'm back.
Scott, Bethesda is teasing us with all new ways to travel in Starfield coming next year. Andy Chalk over PC Gamer. This is some exciting news, isn't it?
Yeah, this is something that maybe would have made the difference between Game of the Year and Sideliner.
Maybe, absolutely. Man, Starfield did not get too much love over there, did they? Whew. Let's get into it, though, as Bethesda says some big changes are coming to Starfield in 2024, including ongoing quest fixes, support for FSR3 and XESS, and this is the big one, quote, all new ways of traveling, end quote, on your journey through the stars. A small new update rolled out for Starfield today that fixes a crash issue during saves, clears up a problem with guns now spawning properly, and gets rid of space Klingons, a glitch that saw rocks, forests, and other bits of space stuff following players around wherever they went.
I never seen any footage of that one. Did you notice?
No, I never got that one either. What I did see is like little bits of asteroids just kind of floating on the planet, but they don't belong there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They just look completely out of place. Like, that doesn't belong there. That asset is supposed to be on the ground. But yeah.
You've contaminated a new space with old space rocks. That's not good.
It almost sounds like a shame having to bid farewell to the cute little asteroids who were following spacers around like lost puppies. But it was a game-breaking bug for some players, so best to see it gone. All good news, but the most interesting bit came in a message Bethesda posted in the Starfield subreddit talking about plans for 2024. Quote, we've been hard at work on many of the issues you've posted and expect an update early next year that will include a large number of in-progress quest fixes, as well as the FSR3 and the XESS, end quote, Bethesda wrote. Quote, though we fixed several quest issues from occurring in-progress quest fixes are much harder to fix, and we've built a new system to correct those without you having to roll back your save. That's a pretty nice little take, thank you. We're also hard at work on many of the new features you've asked for, from city maps to mod support to all new ways of traveling. Stay tuned. These will be rolling out with a regular cadence of fixes and updates we expect to have roughly every 6 weeks. If something can be done in a smaller hotfix in between, like the asteroid, and we feel it's safe, we'll get one of those out as soon as possible. Scott, it's the new ways of travel. Dude, they did not touch much on it, but we're getting something. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny that we've gone from Todd Howard saying, well, you've got a jetpack, you'll be fine. Now we're reorganizing and readdressing that issue. I think it would have made a big difference right at launch. And I think it'll be a lot of a push to make players return. Now, I haven't been back to the game in quite some time, and that's not Starfield's problem. That's not their fault. But this is something that will open that accessibility. I can get in and have more, instead of reserving my 8-hour evening to go into Starfield, I can have more of a shorter time. And I think that's going to get me back in the door. it's interesting to me that the city maps wasn't something that was thought about until now, because these are predetermined cities. To my understanding, there's predetermined cities that have been built and crafted, hand modeled, that kind of thing. Why was there no accompanying map with that? That is frustrating.
Absolutely, dude. I don't know how many times I got lost trying to get from point A to point B, and I'm in the city. I'm like, this is like the main, one of the main outposts, your cities that you are inhabited. You have your own apartment in that place. Like, that's just a given, right? And then trying to traverse from one side of it, then you have to go on to that rail system, and then you jump into the subway, bounce over to the next spot. I'm like, man, it's all over the place trying to figure out where I was going. And you could have that guided line, but it wasn't enough sometimes to figure out where exactly I had to go. So hopefully this new map system is definitely a much needed addition to the game of Starfield. The other thing is too, dude, that jetpack doesn't cut it. Like,
no, it's very slow.
Oh man, I don't know how many times I've traveled halfway across a planet to be so encumbered. And this is the other part that gets me excited, because if I'm encumbered, maybe I can unload it onto whatever travel means I have and then go back to my ship, right? Because that's just trying to, oh man, that encumbrance thing is one of the biggest hindrances when it comes to Starfield, because as you travel, you pick up as much resources along the way, but then you're so heavy that to get back to where you started from takes an hour, because you can only move so fast to make your way back.
You're not supposed to carry that much. There's only so much you can carry as a man.
I get it, dude. You see these guns? Look at these things. Like, you've seen these?
You can carry a lot more than I can, if we're going to be honest.
I can carry my 16-year-old boy, and he's as big as I am. No, it's it's one of those things. It's just, dude, this is a game, right? At the end of the day, this is a game, and that encumbrance is a problem, to the point where I know it's prevented people from playing the game at all. And it's just been one of those. Frustrating. Yeah, it is one of those things. And when you travel so far across the planet to get to, like, here, if you haven't played Starfield, it's all about gathering resources, following the story, if you even care about the story. And then, like, for me, there's an objective of, yo, that ship just landed. Where is it? I'm going to go steal it.
It's mine now.
Yeah, exactly. But I make my way over there, found out I couldn't actually get onto the ship, and had to make my way all the way back. And it was so painful that a new means of traversal is definitely a much needed addition. And the other side of it, here's, Scott, do you think you can take your ship? Because this is funny. We were talking to Kyle just the other night about this, one of our buddies we play with a lot. And one of the biggest problems with Starfield is that you pick your planet, you land on it, and you are parked. Done. Ever heard of a little game called No Man's Sky? You fly all over the planet wherever you want to go. You come and go as you please, right? It's not a drop in, go to a cutscene, drop out. Like, it is just, you just teleport in, you warp in, and then you fly around the planet. You can land, or you can just take off again, and then you're gone.
Do you think they're going to add some sort of a land vehicle with wheels, or do you think it's going to be a little hover bike that you'll be able to take off and land on planets? Because I'm wondering, I'm not sure which way it'll go. I think it's more, if it follows Elite Dangerous, if it follows Mass Effect and that sort of a model, it'll be a little wheeled rover. You get a moon buggy.
Here's this is my pitch to Bethesda. You ready? Right now, Bethesda, I hope you're listening. Right now, we can build ships. Why couldn't we build a land vehicle of some sort to make it the way we want, to make our Land Rover the way we want it to be? If it's for cargo that we can then attach to our ship to take and come as we go, so then we can go out, gather our resources, and come back, put it on the ship, then we can go sell, build, work on our outposts. Dude, that's another addition to that whole ship building mechanic. I
can see that.
Right? Allow us to go to ports, buy those vehicles, those standard vehicles that they already have, for those who don't want to outfit their own. Like, there's opportunities here that they could just explode upon. And then don't forget about all the mods that are coming in as well. Very curious to see, because I've never had a mod on my Xbox before. Mods have always been foreign to me in much more the PC realm than they have for Xbox. But I know they're coming, and I'm definitely curious to see what mods are going to be happening for Starfield and what support that brings. And what support does that get out of Bethesda as well? But yeah, getting back to the vehicles, man, let us customize our own. Let us go gather resources to then have to like forge and build our own. I think that would
Yeah,
be a
think
stepping
about
stone to get into that world, right?
oh, think about how many times players have done that with Tears of the Kingdom, or just spent hours building a
Man.
little buggy on
Yep.
Tears of the Kingdom and having a blast. I could see that being adapted very well.
Absolutely. There's huge potential here in a much needed addition. 2024 for Starfield. Sounds like it's going to be a good one. Scott, it's official. E3 is dead. Dude, we all kind of figured it was. We already knew this was coming. It was just, we needed the final nail in the coffin to come from the big cheese and say, hey, yeah, we're done. Right? And it's just, it is disappointing to see that they couldn't figure it out. But let's get into Andy Robinson over at VGC, his article, and then we'll kind of get into our discussion. E3, the games industry former flagship annual event, is officially dead. Organizer of the Entertainment Software Association has said, quote, after more than 2 decades of hosting an event that has severed as a central showcase for the US and global video game industry, end quote, the ESA has decided to end E3. President Stanley Pierre-Louis said in a statement, quote, we know the entire industry, players and creators alike, have a lot of passion for E3. We share that passion, end quote, he added, quote, we know it's difficult to say goodbye to such a beloved event, but it's the right thing to do given the new opportunities our industry has to reach fans and partners, end quote. Scott is right there in his final statement, right? The new opportunities our industry has to reach fans and partners. Here's the biggest thing. At one point, back in the day, when this was going on, you had the top dogs. You had PlayStation, you had Xbox, you had Nintendo, right? First party. Then you had EA, then you had Ubisoft, and whoever else wanted to kind of get their hands in and be a part of the E3. E3 was the showstopper. This was the place to go for gamers to catch all the latest news that was coming out for your favorite platform, for all the platforms for the upcoming year.
Referred to as Gaming Christmas.
Absolutely. Dude, it was a slice of heaven that I looked forward to year in and year out. I broke into the industry and I'm like, man, I can't wait to go. Disappointed to say, never made it, right? It is just one of those things. PlayStation drops from E3. The minute that happened, that was the fall of E3, right? You just lost the top dog.
It was PlayStation that stepped away first, was it? Because then Nintendo had broken away and started their direct.
Yeah, they did their direct as well. Like, they've always done their own little thing. So it was technically Nintendo first, but Nintendo still had a presence, right? Nintendo was still always part of E3 in one way or another.
Was it Nintendo Treehouse, or am I confusing that again?
Yeah, okay, no, you're right. It was the Nintendo Treehouse that they had at the event. And then a couple years go by, and I remember when it happened, dude. It was every outlet around the world. PlayStation will not be at E3.
Oh.
Whoa. Dude, that was... They held E3 and they just gave them an uppercut to the gut, right?
That was a big one, yeah.
And that was it. That was devastating. Right then and there, the board at ESA should have went, uh-oh, we need to start figuring this out right away. And they never did. You lost the go-to flagship. I get Xbox is big. I'm not denying the scale that they are, but they are still trying to play catch up to this day. Granted, things have changed lately, right? They just bought a company for $69 billion. However, in recent years, it's always been everybody trying to play catch up to PlayStation. Even Nintendo in some direct had a different take. So like they're competitors, but they're also on their own different paths, if that makes sense.
Where it's funny how Nintendo maintains that kind of alternate competitive ability.
Yeah, even to this day, right? Where Xbox and PlayStation are like they're fists, man, like head-to-head combat going on.
Coke versus Pepsi.
Exactly. Who can overthrow the other one, in a sense, right? But competition is always good, and I look forward to them always going back and forth to see what elevates our industry to that next level. Who's able to push ahead and then go back and go, man, look what they're doing. Now we need to do something and step up. But when going back to PlayStation leaving E3, This is when things should have really started putting a red flag in for E3 and ESA to say, hey, we just lost PlayStation. We need to figure out how to get them back. The problem at one point was, from what I remember hearing, is that for a booth at E3, man, it was an arm and a leg, right?
Yeah, it costs a huge amount, and these companies just ultimately didn't need to do it.
No, they don't need to, right? You'd have to sell your firstborn almost to get in there. Like, it was nuts. So on top of that, then everything changed. Pandemic hits. That doesn't help. But what does help, when the pandemic did hit, was PlayStation went, why don't we just do everything digital? Everybody shifted to digital, right? So from there, you get State of Play. You get the PlayStation Showcase. Like, you get all these other events now. You get Xbox doing their own thing. Then Xbox goes, we're not a part of E3, but we'll be across the road, right?
Yeah, so that was bizarre.
They took off. And it was just the dominoes of it all happening fell apart for E3. And it's a heartbreak because it was one of the staple industries the staple events, part of the industry that you wanted to go to. You always wanted to be a part of, right? Just the big spectacles of what was there was incredible. I don't know if we'll ever see that again, just because now everybody does their own thing. PlayStation does their own thing. Xbox does their own thing. Ubisoft does their own Ubisoft Forward or Ubisoft Connect, whatever they're calling it now. EA had EA Play at one point, right? Like, everybody does their own stuff now and able to focus on their demographic, their consumer, and not have to worry about competing now with the other competition. PlayStation doesn't need to compete with Xbox, right? Because when it was E3, Scott, it was Bethesda, Xbox, and then Monday morning, that was Sunday, Monday morning you got into, I think it was Ubisoft. It's been so long. Ubisoft, and then Monday evening was PlayStation, right? Because PlayStation always like to end it off, and then Tuesday was Nintendo.
Yeah, it would just kind of start up a secondary event with Nintendo.
Exactly. So one would have the spotlight for a moment and then get overshone by something else because some other game kind of went, whoa, look at this, and would take the spotlight. Now, Scott, they don't have to worry about any of that, do they?
No, they don't. But there is still something to be said about an in-person event. And for some reason, I think we're going to see that a focus on in-person events just to have it, just to do it. Especially in lieu of E3 here, but we're never going to be at E3. The best I can hope for now is one of the Keighley showcases.
I was going to say,
I would gladly be too.
The Summer Game Fest, right? I think is where the next big event goes. From what I just heard recently, is that the PAX are dying off now as well.
Oh,
which used to be a big staple, right? Another big event you could attend, more community focused, but now that seems to be going away. And Jeff Keighley's taking the reins. He was with ESA and he said, you know what? I don't like your guys' vision. I don't like where you're heading. And he went off and did his own thing. You have the Game Awards, you have Summer Game Fest. Opening night live with Gamescom, right?
And he's taking the air right out of the space now. There's not much room for anybody else.
No. So how do you compete with Jeff? Does he ever get competition? I don't know. But right now he's just firing on all cylinders and he's killing it. So why not? If you want something to showcase, I think Jeff now has the mantra and the opportunities to talk to, obviously, the big heads of going, hey, we want this game, or hey, can we get that game? What do you have to show us? Can we present this at the Summer Game or Summer Game Fest or Opening Night Live, right? Some of those big events now are going to start turning. Will they be more award show like than E3? Probably. So, man, I don't know if we'll ever get that in-person event.
The biggest complaint about the award shows now is that they were too much like E3. We're just seeing them blend together now, and that's going to continue.
Yeah, I think so. At the end of the day, we all like to see those new trailers, though, right? And that's a spotlight right there for them. So, time will tell. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's sad to say E3 is dead. Scott, it just continues. The day before was never an MMO, ex-developer says. Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. Information of what the day before was, or wasn't, continues to come in ever since the developer Fantastic announced it was closing its doors on Monday. The latest comes from an ex-developer at the studio who says the day before was, quote, never an MMO, end quote, despite messaging to the contrary. Speaking anonymously to DualShockers, the developer admits that the game was never going to be the type of game players were being told about, and shown. Quote, I never saw it as an MMO project, end quote, the developer told the outlet. Quote, no one from our team knows why they called it an MMO. It was always a third-person shooter with some co-op mechanics. Not one RPG mechanic was implemented. Skills were an idea, and they were in the prototype stage, but nothing more. End quote.
Oh, man. What a mess this was. At best, it's an extraction shooter with co-op ability. I'm not even certain you can band together in a squad. I'm not sure if it even matters beyond this week, but I can't believe this whole company just put the wool over our eyes and actually got to sell a huge amount of these. Hundreds of thousands of sales.
It's been incredible to watch the marketing on this rise. IGN covered it right to the top, right? NVIDIA partnered to cover them as hard too when it came to the PC side. And it was just taking such a rise that everybody's like, man, if IGN's on it, NVIDIA's on it, this has to be something, right? And man, we all got bamboozled, Scott. We all got scammed. I'm glad I didn't pick it up, but I'm watching some people play and I'm like, man, like there was potential of this actually becoming something, but we were just completely lied to in the end.
Yeah, it was a good idea they had. The idea of an MMO after the zombie apocalypse. It was all great, but too ambitious for this company.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think it was the company that if you give the day before to Naughty Dog, right? We have something. Then we got an opportunity here. Like let's do that. But at the same time, you know, they have The Last of Us and they don't need the day before. What they can do is just The Last of Us Part 3 and turn that into whatever else or a spin-off and give us the day before. But this company here, fantastic, no longer, now known as 8 Point, so be wary as we talked about it yesterday. Exactly. So they're still trying to make some kind of money somehow that I knew. Dude, I've seen slime balls in the past that I've seen them close companies and then just boot up the next day a new one. And like, man, it never goes well. And they've done the same thing here. But when the only developers are like, I don't know why they call it an MMO, because the mechanics just weren't even there in the first place.
No, it wasn't much of anything, and on completion, was it?
No, turned out to be absolutely nothing at all. Just a hot garbage truck on fire.
Well, they're gonna have to make a lot of legal bills soon, so watch out for 8 points.
Scott, I was just looking at the list out today. Man, there's some pretty cool games. What are we playing today?
We have Pioneers of Pagonia, and that's on PC Early Access today. Ready or Not is also on PC. And Rising Dusk is now on consoles, meaning all of them. All the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, and Nintendo Switch.
Nice, there you go. And that'll wrap up today's show, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Drew. That's Scott.
We'll see you inside the game.